Okay, so is this working? Working, testing. Okay, it is working. Okay, so I'll take it from here, Aiden, from part 1. So, I'm not going to be stuttering as much, or at least try not to be stuttering as much. So, like I said in the last part, Aizawa is Deku's favorite hero because he uses a combination of melee-based attacks and his quirk. He doesn't rely on his quirk too much, and he uses a fair amount of melee attacks. Which Deku, he respects. Yeah. So then, his mother, Inko, takes him to the quirk doctor, and the doctor says, "Kid won't have any quirk." And Deku, hearing this, is like kind of sad, but not because he doesn't have a quirk, because his mother was like always saying that Izuku was going to be a great hero one day. But now when Inko's hear this, she says, "I'm sorry, Izuku. I'm so sorry." And Deku is just sad for his mother. Not for himself, but for his mother. Because Deku, in his past life as Doomslayer, never really had a mother. And I'm just making this up on the fly because it's my AU. So, Deku trains as hard as he can every single day. But before we get to that, when they get home from the quirk doctor, Inko takes out a box and says, "Izuku, I have something for you." She opens the box and Izuku sees his old uniform, the one you see on the screen. And obviously, like I said in the last part, that he's going to be finding this. I didn't specify at what age he was going to find this, but I'm going to make it young. That way he has more time with it. So, and then Inko says, "This is from your great grandfather, Doom." And none of Doomslayer's family, so before Doomslayer died, he actually had a family. He said, Here is a box. When I die, make sure that it's kept safe. And I want somebody in the future named Izuku Midoriya to have it. He will be my great-great-grandson. Or my ancestor. No, wait. I'm sorry. I meant my descendant. Please give this to him when he is 5 years old. And so, that's how Izuku attained his suit, but he doesn't see his sword. Because one of the villains broke into the place where his sword was being held and stole it. And this person was none other, and no, it's not All For One. It was, God, what's the name of that villain again? I'm actually thinking. I'm just going to call him Yakuza because his base was called the Yakuza. So, Yakuza stole it, and it's that purple-haired beak boy that was experimenting on Eri. Yes, I know, but I gotta make a plot, okay? So, after he hears that it was stolen, he starts, and then he starts going to the training montage. I'm sorry for all the background noise. I'm just moving on my blank. I'm just moving stuff. But yeah, so he starts working out more and more. But then, but then in this AU, Deku's not being bullied. Because remember in part 1 that he punched Katsuki after Katsuki or Bakugo tried to explode him. And so Katsuki has realized that he isn't really on the same level as Deku. But then at the age of 16, when they're in middle school on the last day, Katsuki decides to pick a fight with the wrong person, Deku. And Katsuki says, Deku, you'll never be as good as me. Because his inferiority complex expanded more and more. He says, Deku, you'll never be as good as me. Take a swan dive off the roof of the building and pray you'll be born with a quirk in your next life. And Deku, hearing this, is royally pissed. He is mad. So then he breaks out of Bakugo's Goonies' arms. Well, he doesn't break their arms, but he just gets out of their grasp. And then he just punches Bakugo straight up in the nose and then gives him a right hook and then an uppercut. And mind you, they are only 16. But also then Deku does so he jumps and then he... Hold on, wait. Let me think of it. I'm sorry, but this is my second ever time doing this. Like I said, okay, so he jumps and then he aims and then he kicks his left foot into Katsuki, and Katsuki gets hit into the wall. And then so Inko Midoriya. So in this AU, Inko Midoriya, she's always nice, like the original, but she does discipline Deku when he does need to be disciplined, like a good mother should, right? So then she gets a call from the middle school, and then she sits down next to Deku, and then Deku just starts to break down, saying how Bakugo's been trying to bully him, but the only way Bakugo hasn't been able to bully him is by Deku fighting back. In which Inko, hearing this, would stand up and say, "Okay, Izuku, well, I made dinner on the table. I'm just gonna call somebody real quick." And so Izuku says, "Okay, Mom," because he actually has accepted her as a mother figure. So then Inko goes downstairs. She calls Mitsuki and tells her what Izuku told her, and Mitsuki is royally pissed at Katsuki. So then Katsuki is grounded for like a month, for the whole rest of the 3 months. Katsuki is going to be grounded for the 10 months before the entrance exam, which justifies it a little bit, right? I'm sorry. I don't want... Yeah. I'm just a little... No, never mind. Never mind about me. But, so, yeah. All this is happening. And so... Okay, so... There is actually not going to be any altercation between Izuku and All Might. Deku never meets All Might. He never went under the bridge, because he just straight up punched Bakugo in the face and left the time he was supposed to leave. I mean, it was his mother's birthday, but he took the normal route he did every single day. Yeah. But, I mean, like, they do actually meet when the sludge villain attacks Bakugo. And Izuku actually goes to save Bakugo because he still does have a heroic heart from his past life. And then All Might says, "Young man, will you inherit my quirk? My quirk's name is All for One." Oh, I mean, One for All. I'm sorry, I get the two mixed up so much because it's the same words. But One for All. Yeah, One for All. He asked Izuku to take the quirk One for All. And Izuku plain out says no. That there's probably a quirkless kid. There's probably a kid more in need out there than Izuku. And then All Might goes to actually try to understand this. Like, this kid, he just declined the opportunity to take the quirk from the number one hero. What the hell? But then All Might just thinks about it and he's like, oh, okay. Because he actually starts to think about it like, I'm only people, my whole, every single one, All for One, One for All user before him only chose powerful people. Like Izuku. No, Izuku didn't have One for One for All before. But he's thinking, like, Izuku is powerful. And that was the reason why All Might was going to give him the quirk. But then Izuku says, but then All Might says, well, if you don't want my quirk, then what do you want? Izuku says, my Spartan sword. It was my great grandfather's Spartan sword. He inherited it to me. And my mother said it was stolen where the place it was being buried. And so then All Might says, well, what did the sword look like? And Izuku explains to All Might what the sword looked like, which was a red sword with a kind of pickaxe shape at the tip. Like a pickaxe blade at the tip of the sword blade, but it was still bladed. With red, it was colored red, glowing red, and it had runes on it. And All Might said, that was your sword? And then Izuku says, what do you mean that was my sword? All Might says, it was stolen by the Yakuza. By Yakuza. Izuku says, oh, okay. Can you please could you get it back for me? And All Might says, okay. So, a few days goes by, and so the Yakuza base is attacked by the pro heroes, but they aren't able to get Eri because they don't know of her existence yet. And I don't want to hear it, okay? So, hold on, wait, just real quick break. Okay, and I am back. So, they end up finding Izuku's sword thanks to the description that Izuku gave All Might. So then, a few days later after that, like, they aren't able to take down the Yakuza base. It's still fully operational. For plot reasons. Because Izuku in this is just a total badass. So, like I'm saying, yes. So then, a few days later, Inko hears a knock on the door. Sounds like this. And so then, Inko says, Izuku, can you get the door? And Izuku says, alright, Mom. So then Izuku goes to get the door and he sees All Might. And then Inko asks, who's at the door, honey? Izuku says, it's nobody, Mom, it's just All Might. Inko says, oh, okay, what? Wait, what? And Inko is just confused, like he says it's nobody, but then says it's All Might. Like, what? And then she runs to the door, like, meow. But just for plot reasons of this AU, Inko is still a beauty. She never lost the way she looked before. She still looks like a hottie. She never got fat or chubby. But then when All Might sees her, he's flabbergasted by her beauty. It's like, hi, like that pig from the Looney Tunes. And he is just trying so hard to say, hi, Miss Midoriya. It's so funny. But then she giggles, but then Inko giggles, which makes All Might blush. And Izuku just gives All Might the death stare. Like this stare, like, hey yo, that's my mama. Yeah. Also, it took a while to find this. To find this picture again. But yeah. So then, if All Might finally says, hello, Miss Midoriya. I am here to return something that your son asked me to get. And she said, Izuku, you asked All Might to get something? Not in a mad voice, but in like a super shocked, surprised voice. And then All Might says, yes, I believe this was inherited by Izuku's great grandfather, Doomslayer. And which only super high-ranking, well, actually, nobody in the world knows who Doomslayer is. Not even Doomslayer's own family, except for Izuku, who was Doomslayer that was reincarnated as Izuku. Yeah. How long has this thing been going? God damn. I don't know how long it's been going, but yeah. So, All Might shows Inko and Izuku the sword, and he says, I need to give the sword a name. I'm actually trying to give the sword a name. Hold on, wait. Let me try to give the sword a name. Okay, so I'm done, and I gave the sword a name. Daisy. I know, it is the name of the bunny that made Doomslayer go to war with hell and raise it. But yeah. But then All Might is like, you named it Daisy and you've never met it? And Izuku goes, oh no, I've heard of it before from my mother. But I just kind of came up with the name Daisy, Izuku says. All Might say like, why you name it Daisy? It looks so badass, and then you name it Daisy. And Izuku says, don't judge the way I name things. And All Might is scared by Izuku and his immense stare. And he goes, okay. So then, and so it was just like a couple of weeks. So then we begin the training montage. I know I've said that like 3 or 4 times before. Don't judge me. This is my first ever time. So, oh god. I've been saying this for a long time now. Honestly, I was just gonna leave it here, okay? Yeah, I need to just leave it here because my brain is getting too overloaded. Okay, yeah.